Hello everybody, welcome back. You're back with us here on Sports Federation TV, and as we said today, we are doing some crossings for you where we are speaking to our guests in the Western Cape that are doing sport or involved with sport from a playing point of view, a coaching point of view, and of course speaking to us remotely today. Well, we've already spoken to fencing, we're still looking to speak to boxing, and of course we're also going to be speaking to hunting rifle shooting today. But now in studio with me, and she's back, and this time she's back with a guest, Jhani van der Berg with Eddie Newman, who are Western Cape legends in the world of Western Cape dressage. And of course the last time we spoke to Jhani was with regards to the Lipizzanas out at Mystico. Jhani, Eddie, welcome to Sport Federation TV. Jhani, welcome back.
Thank you so much for having me. It's so lovely to have Eddie with me, so I'm really glad we could have a chat again.
Yeah, and Eddie, well, you just told us that you're no stranger to TV. So, you're certainly the first time that we're getting a chance to speak to you. Welcome to Sport Federation TV.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
So we're going to talk a little bit about dressage today, which Eddie is, of course, your field of expertise. But Jhani, maybe just give us a bit of an intro. You're, of course, at the Lipizzanos at Mystico and involved, I suppose, in some way with the dressage. Maybe just explain to us the dressage angle before we speak to Eddie.
So the Lipizzanos form of training is classical dressage, and competitive dressage here in the Western Cape and across the country and world is also based on this principle. So, the Lipizzanos really strive to continue this tradition. We also have some of our riders to compete. The Lipizzanos also offer some riders, like Eddie, who is part of the Solidarity team, a chance to compete on the horses, learn from horses who are a little bit more experienced, and then carry on into their legacy. So Eddie's joined our program, and since then, he's gone on to compete at the South African Dressage Champs. He rides for a few of his own clients who are also with their own competitive horses. So it's really given him a bit of a step up into the introduction of, competitive dressage here in South Africa, and especially here in the Western Cape.
So Eddie, let's go to you then. How did you get started with dressage?
So I grew up on a farm where they used to breed thoroughbred race horses, and just up the road was a riding school that was owned by a good friend of mine who now lives in Johannesburg, and she taught me how to ride. And when I was hopefully at the age of 7, I then started competing, and in school holidays I would go and ride some of the young race horses on the stud just to gallop them up the tracks. And then started competing as a children's rider in mainly show jumping and equitation, and then went on as a young rider and did showing, dressage, equitation, and show jumping, and did a little bit of the cross country, the eventing. But eventing was never my favorite thing to do. And then rode as an adult rider, and then a little bit, and then went and studied performance, drama, acting. And then after that, started riding again, and then stopped again, and then started again, and then stopped again. And then when COVID hit, I was asked by a great friend of mine who owns a theatre in Observatory, Caroline. Her daughter had quite a bad fall of one of her young horses, and Caroline asked me just to come and just put the horse back in its box because it was really, really naughty. And I rode it throughout COVID. And then sort of when COVID was sort of busy fading out, I then came back to riding actually. Then I started working at the South African Lipizzanas. And then later in that year, 2021, I was offered a ride by the owners of Mystico, Siobhan Wall, to ride one of her horses that she does not ride anymore. And I started competing him. He then went on to the South African Dressage Championships in 2022, last year in Johannesburg. He then won the Constellation Championship. And then I also train with Adrian van Bay, and I ride for Ilana Hopkins. I ride mainly her young horses, and I produce them for the higher level of dressage. But currently, the two horses that I'm riding are in the novice, and then I back some of their horses as well, and then I ride with the South African Lipizzaners as well.
Jhani, when we had you in studio, you were saying that the riders and everybody involved at Mystico, that it's a hands-on job. You've got to wake up early in the morning. You've got to be getting involved with the horses. You've got to be involved with the stables. You even mentioned that there's some studying involved in this picture. It doesn't sound to me like Eddie is doing any studying. I don't know, but is it the same? Is it the same for Eddie? Also involved hands-on, making sure everybody's looked after during the day?
It is entirely. So, but as much as Eddie has his hands full, he's a very talented young man, and he has, a variety of options and times to go through it. During his day here at the Lipizzanas, he joins our student program, where he also learns about the movements and the classical way of not only asking horses to perform certain movements, but how to teach, how to do all of these extra things that'll help him in his career as a work rider and as a competitive dressage rider. So he does have his hands full, but at least his day is for sure not boring.
Do you have a special relationship with some of your horses? Like, is there a special horse? I mean, you're obviously competing at a national level here, at the highest level. Is there a special horse that you ride?
Well, basically all of them are special. So at the center, at the South African Lipizzana Center, I've got 4 horses that I work with. I've got one youngster that was backed about 2-3 months back, and he's got a very, very special place in my heart. And so does the other 3. And then the horse that I compete on, Byron Bay, he is also a youngster. He's got a very, very special place in my heart. Every afternoon I go to his stable, and he comes up to me and he will give me a little kiss with his nose. He'll nudge at me and then come and just put his head in, like on top of my shoulder, and I can cuddle with him, I can play with him. And then I've got a Lipizzana mare as well that I compete, Golabika. She is also just a sweetheart.
And Eddie, there's a lot of people watching the show right now and probably thinking, and especially after Jhani explained to us about the Lipizzanos and makes horse riding and certainly equestrian sport in the Western Cape look so exciting. Many people want to get involved with it. Eddie, what advice would you give the youngsters today that want to get involved with either dressage or equitation or any form of equestrian sport?
I would like to, if you get the opportunity, take it with both hands and run with it. Because the sport, equestrian sport, it's such a phenomenal sport, because you don't have to always ride, but just by working with the horses, it's like I don't have to go and see my psychologist. So it's a true blessing to work with these animals.
Yeah.
You know?
I think the beauty of the industry is, even if you don't find your niche in riding, perhaps, there's so many different avenues in the industry that you can, really pose and ride on with. I mean, we have amazing coaches who are always needed, course builders for show jumping, stewards for showing, eventing, scribes even for dressage shows. There's so many avenues that you can volunteer with and you can learn from. I think it's an endless, it's just endless, the possibilities.
The list just goes on and on.
Well, it sounds to me like you guys are having great fun. Eddie, what comes next for you now? We know that it's hard work every day, but what's your next event now?
We're quite busy. Tomorrow I'm competing, and so Jhani. So we're constantly busy, and on Sunday we will perform at Mystico Equestrian Center, the classical performance, and then later on in the month we'll travel to George, and we'll do the performance in George with the South African Lipizzanas and compete there. And then later on in September, we will be riding in the South African Adult Dressage Championships that will take place here at Mystico Equestrian Centre. So that's where I'm working towards now.
I think we're very lucky.
Yeah.
Mystico was awarded the South African Dressage Championships this year. Yeah, so for all of the riders here in the Western Cape, it's a great opportunity to go to really show what the Western Cape is made of.
Guys, we're going to leave it at that. It's been fantastic chatting with you. I'm sure that your enthusiasm and your excitement, and both of you, your performances in the equestrian sport is an inspiration to everybody that's watching now. And of course, we can't wait to talk to you again, but we also can't wait to come and see you guys in practice. So great chatting with you, and we can't wait to talk to you again soon.
Thank you so much for having us. I know it's been really fun chatting with you again, but we hope to see you soon.
Yeah, well, hopefully next time we get you in studio. Eddie, and we'll say best of luck to you guys.
Thank you so much. And once again, thank you to you, to the South African Lipizzanas, the FEI, and the Solidarity team for giving me this opportunity. And to my coach as well, Adrian van Veek, and to Ilana Hopkins. Thank you so much.
There we go, folks. Eddie Newman and Jhani van der Berg talking to us there from Mystico, where they're of course involved with Western Cape Equestrian, and specifically in this case we're talking about dressage. And wow, what an exciting, inspirational chat to always be talking to equestrian. So get out to Mystico and go and watch, folks. That's a wrap from us tonight. We'll see you again next week, same time, same place. Have a fantastic sporting weekend. Bye bye.